somebody's going to buy your business, there's hard assets are important, but and I know it sounds corny, but it's really, really true. Your people are your biggest asset. And that's what a prospective buyer is going to look at. So you recommend beginning a development process for your employees and you talk about cares, which is competencies, attitude, results, experience, and skills. Tell me a little bit about developing your managers so that they are at their best for when it comes time to build that value and sell your business.
Yeah, so I like to talk about it as intentional development because I think there's a lot of development out there. People talk about coaching, they talk about training, and those are certainly some good development methodologies, but the vast majority of good intentional development happens when you provide targeted learning experiences and broadening opportunities. And so, to do that intentionally, you have to understand what are the competencies that I need to instill in the leadership team that I'm developing in these key roles. What are the results that are most important for our organization to get and for this individual to get in the role that they're in? Attitude matters. If you have the right attitude, you can accomplish a whole lot more. And so I included that in there. Sometimes that's, the least trainable or developable, you've got to work a little bit harder on that, but it is moldable, I should say. And then what experience, as I mentioned, do they need to have and skills to develop? So for me, the best example, and I include this story in the book, but the best example of it is that I had a situation with the CEO of a bank, and he went regularly down to the Capitol and lobbied the legislators. And so when we were talking about succession planning for him, he had two candidates that were on his leadership team that he thought either one of them might be the right fit to replace him at some point. And so we talked about, well, how are you developing them? And he said, well, I'm going to bring them. One of the examples was I'm going to bring them to Raleigh with me and they'll sit in and they'll watch what I do. And this whole idea that we learn by following or we learn by watching is really risky because, first of all, people learn in very different ways. But second of all, it's like, who knows if they're going to learn what you want them to learn? Sure. Instead, what I recommended was that he do some very intentional approach to developing them in this particular area. And what we ended up having him do is he sat down with them 2 weeks in advance of the trip. And he said, these are the topics that I am going to want to lobby the legislators about. He gave to each of them and said, I want you to go away and put together your lobby package, if you will. And then we'll get together about 3 days before the trip and you'll pitch to me, you'll lobby me. I'm going to give you feedback and I'm going to coach you and I'm going to help you understand what you did really well and where I want you to adjust. And then we're going to get in the car and we're going to drive to the Capitol and we are going to sit down with the legislators and you're going to each do one of the topics. And then we're going to debrief in the end. Well, forcing them to do the pre-work with intentionality, with a specific topic, get the coaching, go and actually do it, and then get feedback is so much more powerful than just jump in a car and let's go see what we can learn together.